Let's give you the markets update now. The rand still flirting with record lows. The risks to the rand remain heavily on the weaker side as local power issues and geopolitical tensions weigh. Simon Brown is JustOneLap founder, joining us now for a quick markets update. Simon, good morning to you. Let's talk about the rand still trading dangerously above the 19 rand against the dollar mark. Give us the factors that are set to drive the currency this week.
Early morning. So, there's two biggies. Wednesday is going to be our April inflation release. We're expecting 7%. There are concerns around that. We'll touch on results in a moment, and across the board in those results we can see the impact of inflation. And then, of course, Thursday is the MPC, South African Reserve Bank, and the decision on interest rates. Pretty much it had been expected at maybe a 0.25% increase, but ever since Friday before last, suddenly it's now sitting at probably a 0.5% increase. What we have seen with the rand was out at 1950, just 40 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago, and suddenly started strengthening, now down at 1934 against the dollar, 24 and 4 cents against sterling, and 20.90 against the euro. So staging a bit of a comeback. But to your point, there are risks out there for the rand this week.
Yeah, let's talk company news. Barloworld publishing its interim results for the 6 months, which ended on the 31st of March 2023. How are their numbers looking?
Pretty much as guided. They'd given us a trading update. They got, the Russian operation, no surprise, that has seen revenue down more than 50%. The surprise perhaps is that they haven't yet sold it. And then a lot of base effect. Of course, the previous period was still a lot of lockdown. They do Caterpillar, those giant big yellow vehicles we see on construction sites, mining sites. We've seen activity come back there. They're both South Africa and Europe, but broadly I would say a solid set of results. Not shooting the lights out, but a giant conglomerate, well managed, and solid numbers coming through.
Let's talk about the restaurant group, Famous Brands, reporting a jump in annual profit and announcing its intention to increase its drive-throughs. Talk us through their numbers and also this company's plans moving forward.
Yeah, so a good set of numbers for them. Again, there's some base effect, of course, because the previous period was under various stages of lockdown. They've got issues with inflation. They say we've got to be very careful around passing that inflation on to consumers. And then, of course, just a consumer under pressure. But they've done well. Part of the challenges, they make the point, in this new hybrid world that we live in, we're eating meal times are perhaps shifting, and that brings some of their brands into it. Load shedding can have some benefits for them if you've got that horror sort of, the 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, or even worse, the 4 to 8 in the evening. Suddenly some takeout might come through. And then the drive-through, that's really about efficiencies. That's trying to get more throughput through the various different locations without needing to increase store size. And we've seen a lot of that in the local takeout space locally, and it certainly works. It's proved to be a fairly good success for the brands who have tried it.
Let's conclude with Astral Foods, also publishing interim results for the 6 months, which ended on the 31st of March 2023. How did they fare?
So they've again got the issues of input cost. They've got concerns around inflation and trying not to pass that on to consumers. But their bigger challenge is infrastructure, and that is water and electricity. Pretty much they spent some 740 million on diesel. That was half their profits that they've spent away from that. They've skipped a dividend for this period. They're typically known as a fairly good dividend payer. So it's been a really, really tough period for them. But I got to say, if you dig into it, for example, inventories really were up just over double what they had been the previous period. I think they're going to see a much better second half, particularly if we start seeing maize prices continue the trend lower. The challenges of Eskom, challenges of water aren't going away, but perhaps the other operational issues can start moving in their favor for the second half of the year.
JustOneLap founder Simon Brown, thank you very much for that markets update.